Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about Elden Ring and the Spiritcaller Cave and how to defeat the Godskin Duo. You see how much life that took off?
Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me
Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Winks here. Like I said in the beginning of the video, today we're going to be talking about the Spiritcaller Cave and the Spiritcaller Snail Boss at the end of this with the Spiritcaller Godskin Duo. If you haven't already, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. That way you never miss out on anything that I upload. Before we get started and jump into this video, just a couple quick housekeeping notes as usual. For those of you that are new to this channel, I always put timestamps down below, so feel free to skip ahead, but just know that if you do that, you might miss out on some important details. Also, as a second housekeeping note, I'm going to be discussing a few things in today's video about gear, talismans, etc., etc. I'm going to place a link down below in the description that has an interactive map that will help you find those things, because I am not going to go in depth on how to get those specific items in order to cut down on the time of this video. Now, moving on into the video and today's video breakdown and what I am going to go over. So today, I'm going to go over the where. I'm going to show you on the map where this cave is located. Then I'm going to talk about the why and discuss a little bit about the rewards that you get from coming into this cave. Then I'm going to talk about the who, the bosses, their weaknesses, the strategy you should take when approaching them. And then I'm going to talk about the what, such as the gear, talismans, etc. Okay, so as far as the where on the map, this cave, the Spiritcaller Cave, is located up in the northeast region of the Lands Between. This is a very late game area, and this boss would be considered, more of a late game boss. However, Elden Ring is not really linear as far as the story goes, so you could theoretically come straight up here, but in my mind, I consider this more of a late game area, but it's located here again. Okay, so now moving into the why and the rewards that you would get from coming into this cave. So as you can see here, I've pulled up on the screen and I'm showing the white reed armor. This is the first major reward you're gonna get from coming into this cave. You can get this before even fighting the boss, which you're gonna see it when I run through this cave quickly. So that's reward number one that you get from this. Reward number two, as you can see on the screen, is going to be the Godskin Swaddling cloth, and you can tell that I got two of these, so I've beaten this boss twice. But this particular item here restores your HP after successive attacks. But you have to beat the snail boss in order to get this one. The third and last major reward that you would get from defeating this boss is the Incantation Blackflame Ritual. Now, this cave is not necessary in order to beat the story. However, if you are trying to set up a black flame build, this is probably going to be on your list of important setups for that build. Okay, so moving on to the strategy, and keep in mind I'm going to give you the recommended strategy, and then after I show you my setup, I'm going to show you how I do it. Both have similarities, but both are also slightly different. So this particular boss in the Spiritcaller Cave, the Spiritcaller Snail, which calls the Godskin Duo, is essentially three different bosses that you fight all at once. The first two are the most difficult, and the last one, the snail himself, is very easy. But it's essentially three bosses, and the first two bosses have two phases each, which are the phases are usually triggered when you get their health meter down to about halfway. So as far as status element goes, the recommended statuses are the usual poison and scarlet rot, but for this particular boss, there is a heavy emphasis on sleep, because when you inflict sleep on these bosses, there is a 60-second window of opportunity to pump out as much critical damage as possible to these bosses. And I'm going to show you that when we get into it. These bosses, the first one, the Apostle, which there are a few of both, the Apostle and Noble, scattered throughout the lands between. I think there's about 6 of them total between the two. But the attacks they use, which you'll see, the Apostle uses the Black Flame, which is like a fireball projectile it throws at you. Then it uses the Black Flame Tornado, and it also uses a move called the Steel Whirlwind, which the second two, the Black Flame Tornado and the Steel Whirlwind, are pretty simple. You just run away when they start doing that, when you see the startup for that. The Black Flame Fireball that they throw at you, we're actually going to use that against them for both of them. It's recommended also, since we're talking about sleep, if you're either going to inflict sleep with a sleep pot, so you have to craft some of those, and if you don't have any of those, you can use Saint Trina's arrows and a bow, but you have to have the dexterity to carry the bow. It's also recommended that if you have access to it, a weapon that causes blood loss or frostbite, because that can inflict heavy damage, or also a shield that has 100% physical damage negation. Sorry, words are hard. As far as your spirits go, I'm not going to use a spirit on this one because I want them to attack me and focus on me, but the recommended spirits are the Omen Killer Rollo and the Black Knife Tiche. Now, the Omen Killer Rollo is recommended because it also inflicts blood loss and it can help you out during this fight. But again, the cornerstone to this fight is going to be sleep. Now, the second boss that you're going to encounter in here is the Noble, which is arguably probably the most difficult out of the 3 to attend with. The first time I played this boss, I died several times trying to fight this boss. So it is, to me, one of the more difficult bosses, particularly this one, because anytime you're dealing with that Noble, he has this roll attack that he uses, and it is kind of difficult to avoid the first few times. But essentially what you want to do is, you'll notice that he'll drop to his right side and he'll start to roll around the arena to try and roll over you. And usually in some of these arenas, you'll have a pillar or something that you can put between you and him when you see that startup, and use that to your advantage. But in this cave, you don't have that to use to your advantage. So what you want to do, and what I recommend, is when you see that Godskin Noble drop to his right side to start that roll, you want to kind of match that and also go to your right and start running, and just kind of run him in a circle until he wears out. As far as the damage type that they're weak to, both of them, the Apostle and the Noble, are both weakest against slash damage. The Noble has a slight negative 10% against pierce, but all 3 of them are weak against slash damage, so I recommend a slash type weapon. So moving on to the next part of the video, which is the what and the setup that I use when I go in here. Now, I know that I said the recommended weapon type is slash, but I have a standard Executioner's Great Axe here, and it is a Flame Art Affinity. And as you can see, it has the Royal Knight's Resolve on it. Now, I specifically chose this because of the critical damage that it inflicts. And again, just as a reminder, I'm not going to go over how to find all this stuff. Just remember to check the link down below to help you find these things that I'm talking about. The next thing that I have for my setup is the finger seal, fully upgraded for the incantations that I'm going to be using, which I'm also going to show you. Also, this Gilded Magic Iron Shield is something I use with the Carrion Retaliation on here. This is going to be very good for when the Apostle and the Noble are throwing their fireballs and using that against them. As far as my headgear and stuff like that, there is no strategy to this at all for this particular boss. I just like the way the cavalry armor looked, and it looked really cool. So for this part on this boss, I don't have any recommendations, but you know, I just picked this stuff because it looked cool. Now for my talismans, I've got the Shard of Alexander, which boosts the attack power of skills. I've got the Claw Talisman for enhancing jump attacks. I have the Dagger Talisman, which is going to help with in lieu of the Great Axe, and we're doing damage to these two. And then I have the Dragon Quest Great Shield Talisman, which helps with some of that physical damage negation. And like I said earlier in the video, I'm also going to be using these sleep pots and Wondrous Physick, which I will also go over. Now for my incantations slash spells. Really, they're just incantations, even though they're under the spell tab. I am going to be using, I have 4 pulled up, but I'm only using 2 for this particular one. I'm using Flame Grant Me Strength and the Golden Vow because they stack damage. Now, you could probably use, like I said, the recommended statuses are Poison and Scarlet Rot, so you could use like a Poison Mist or something like that, but I am not using that for this particular boss. Now, for the Wondrous Physick mix that I use, I don't know that this first one really makes that much of a difference for this fight, but however, I am using the Stone Barb Cracked tier to break stance easier, and also the Open Line Hard tier for boosting damage negation. This one being the most important one, you know, for when that second boss starts rolling around, I don't want to get completely smashed. So this is what I'm using for this fight and what I recommend. So for the last part of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this cave real quick and show you how to, you know, easily navigate this cave and also fight the boss, and, you know, kind of show you how all this ties in together. So you saw I kind of ran around that middle part. Don't go in the middle. So the strategy here is there's 4 different Spiritcaller snails. Just kill the snails. Don't worry about the spirits. Pick your items up that'll be in here and just keep moving. The last 2 snails are probably the most difficult. They're not too difficult, but there is a samurai spirit in there that you need to be pretty quick and get around him and get to the snail. So that's kind of the strategy coming through the cave. You just kill the snails. There's another one right here. I'm going to drop down and kill him real quick. Took care of him. You see that spirit's dead. You get the other items that'll be right here. And then you're going to run past these, run straight past these, and try and kill these 2 as quickly as possible in this room. Do not worry about picking up the items yet. So kill him. That'll take care of those. And then run right over here, past the samurai. Try not to die. There you go. I am completely lucky with that one this time. Sometimes that's a lot smoother, but that's the idea, is just kill the snails so you don't have to worry. And then here is the armor set, the white reed armor that I talked about earlier. Here is where I died the last time I came through here because of that samurai spirit. And then you go down here and the boss's cave is going to be right in here. Okay, so before we go in here, let me just explain what the strategy is in here. So I have, on my left hand, I have the shield and the incantation finger seal that I use. So when we go in, we're going to have the shield equipped, and we're also going to have our sleep pots ready to go. Let me heal before we go in here. But that is going to be the main strategy going in. We're just going to block with that shield. Try and hit, you know, get off one of those sleep pots on him, and then when he goes down, we are going to 1, 2, 3 with our 2 incantations and our Knight's Resolve on our weapon, and then we're gonna hit him. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So like I said, I'm not going to call out a spirit. I want him to focus on me. So what I want him to do is to start throwing his fireball, which here goes one. Burn! And I did not catch that like I was supposed to. Let me try that again. I think I hit the wrong button. I always get L1 and L2 mixed up. Come on, throw it. There we go. There we go. So when you use that, you just use it against him. You can wear him down doing that. That could potentially be your only strategy if you wanted it to be. Just be mindful that it uses your FP. But I'm gonna hit him with a sleep pot if he doesn't move. Master keeps moving. Got him that time. So here's when he goes down for 60 seconds and you want to start using all your buffs. And then while he's down, we're just gonna critical damage. You see how much life that took off? That is the entire strategy. And then for that, you just run away. And there's the whirlwind. And then we just rinse and repeat. Wait for that fireball. And he hit the tree that time. Run away. You want to put some distance in between you and him because that's what will usually trigger that fireball attack. It's not too terribly difficult to deal with. What you don't want to do is get caught by that. And again, with the buffs. "60 seconds. 1, 2, he is down. Quickly heal for the next one. Get your FP up. Go ahead and get those pots ready. This one is a lot more difficult. Like the other one, he's down for a minute. Literally. Go ahead and use those buffs. And then hit him. Pretty easy. And here is where you want to roll. You want to run to the side, but luckily we caught him without that. Another full 60 seconds. Quickly, quickly, quickly. And then hit him. As you can see, that is highly effective. And you can wear him down with the, the last little bit of fireballs if you have to. So he is on us. But he's essentially killing himself. And now he's dead. So for the last one, we're just going to go find that snail, and then we are going to jump attack onto him and kill him. And that's it. That's how you kill that boss. There's the Godskin Swaddling cloth and the Blackflame Ritual. So that's it, guys. That's all I got for you for today's video. So in summary, what we talked about was where to find this map in the lands between. I went over the rewards that you would get and, what might motivate you to go into this cave. I talked about the bosses and what the recommended weaknesses were and the strategy approach to take against them. And then I showed you the gear that I had equipped. And then after I walked you through the cave the easiest way possible, I fought the boss with everything I showed you to kind of show you how all this tied together. I hope this video was informative. I hope you liked it and learned something. If you haven't already, again, drop a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I appreciate all my subscribers. And for now, that's it. Till next weekend. Winks out.